All right. Well, first day of spring practice. Everybody's excited. I'm sure 86 of our football players are excited about the start of spring practice. We will have, I think, 81 guys that will participate today. 4 or 5 guys still kind of nicked up and recovering from injury. But we're excited about the start. We just finished an 8-week cycle, what we call the first quarter of our journey. And felt like our guys did a really good job from the beginning, from day one to where we ended right before spring break. Felt like our guys did a great job of growing as a football team and getting better to understanding what our expectations as a staff, new staff are. I think there's a bunch of areas that we'd like to accomplish in spring practice, and I think there are areas where we can really either say thumbs up or thumbs down at the end. I hope that's the case. The first area is defining leadership on our football team. I think that's a big area for us right now, is trying to define who are our leaders. We're still really searching for that on our football team. I think that's a big part of success, and successful programs are leaders on your team, so we're trying to find those. Number 2 is an identity in our offense and defensive lines. I think that's really important. In the age of the spread offense and going real fast and partying in the end zone and all that stuff, you still win championships up front, offensively and defensively. So that's a huge, huge area that we're going to try to find out who our offensive line guys are going to be. Try to find 5, and then try to find a 6th, try to find a 7th, try to find an 8th. And then probably after that, probably look to some guys from our recruiting class to come in here and help us in the offensive line. And then the same thing on defense, trying to find some guys that want to be relentless and really attack and be tough, physical guys up front on defensive line. And the third thing, and it could be one for us, is create some depth at our quarterback position. Really create and some depth and some competition. I think that's more, and we want to do that for every one of our positions, but especially at quarterback, especially in the type of offense that we run. The quarterback position is really important to have more than one guy, guys that can run that type of offense. We're going to run our quarterback. Our quarterback's going to have to be able to run. He's going to have to be able to do some things with his legs. So we've got to be able to find some depth at that position. And then lastly, define our playmakers. And when I say playmakers, I mean playmakers on both offense and defense. The guys that can make plays, obviously, on offense when they got the ball in their hands. And on defense, the guys that can take it away, can strip it and sack the quarterback and all those things. To me, you got to have those on both sides of the ball. Then you got to have it in the kicking game also. So those are the 4 things that we're excited about, trying to figure out about our team this spring. And, you get 15 practices to do it. I wish they'd put in the rule like the NFL, where a new staff gets like 4 more practices than everybody else. But I'm sure the NCAA would frown on that. But I may bring that up at the Sun Belt meetings in May. Questions?
Coach, your offensive line is not a whole lot of depth there.
Mm-hmm.
I know 4 guys left right before you came in,
Mm-hmm.
right after you came in. What are you looking for from your D line today? Are you looking to establish 5 starters? Are you trying to see where the depth is, or what's going on with your offensive line?
Well, I mean, we've got a number of guys that we feel like we can find 5 guys up front. It's always about finding that first group, and then, like I said, number 6, number 7, number 8. Hopefully we can find that as we move through spring practice. But we've got some guys that, we're looking forward to seeing what they can do. Ryan Melton, Willie Williams, Will Copa. There's some guys that have played offensive line. We moved Landon Beck over to offensive line. So there's a 4th guy. Tristan Miserak is a guy that we really like up front. So there's some guys. There's a number of guys. We just have to find the right 5 that can go in and play for us, and then we'll worry about number 6, number 7, number 8 after that.
Is Will Copa, is he participating in spring practice?
He'll do some things this spring, yes.
Okay, because we heard that he had an injury or something at the beginning of the year. He's good to go.
Well, yeah, he'll gradually, where he'll be on a limited basis, but he'll do some of our spring practice.
kind of defines that first quarter of the journey like you talked about? What's the kind of specific things you look to do during that first quarter that kind of wrapped up with spring break last week?
Well, I think the first quarter is more just instilling your expectations, trying to get kids to understand what your core values are, your foundation of your program, how you work, your expectations every time you come in this building. I think that's really important. A lot of people just go right into football and strength and conditioning, and they don't lay down a foundation. And our deal was to lay down a foundation. We wanted to do that before we ever went on the football field. The second quarter is about football philosophy. It's about what we want to be offense, defense, special teams, and get our kids to understand how we practice. We talk about, from point A to point B with fanatical effort and focus. How can our kids, don't worry about mistakes, but how hard you practice. We can fix the mistakes. That's why you pay coaches. So we'll fix the mistakes. Our big deal is how do we, get kids to go hard in the second quarter.
Coach, you said when you were hired that you obviously were new and didn't really know the players, didn't really have an idea what you had. Do you have a better idea now after the first quarter what you have, or are you still big question mark there?
I would say twofold. I know names. I don't know if they're football players. We haven't had a football out yet. Today will be the first day we actually roll a football out on their field and figure out who's a football player. It's easy to go out there and run around in shorts and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, yell and scream and all that stuff. Now, and even today and Wednesday, where you only have a helmet on, you really don't know until you put pads on. You really don't know what kind of guys are game guys. So I'm excited about that. I think our staff's excited about that. You go 8 weeks in a program, you get kind of tired of getting up in the morning and just running around barrels and cones and that type stuff. It's time to really do some offense and defense and special teams. So our guys are excited about that.
Keeping to that same vein, Coach, transition, you've had some guys that have dropped off the team, obviously didn't like what was going on, didn't like your attack. I mean, how's that been as a whole? I mean, do you kind of expect that as a new guy coming in?
I don't think it's that they didn't like what we were doing. I think it's, some guys, you got to love this game, play this game. I mean, you got to get – it's really hard. It's not like playing basketball where you can go – anybody can roll out a basketball. Across the street over here in those apartments over there, I see a lot of people playing basketball. How many people you see line up playing football? Not many. You got to really love this game. And anytime you go through a change with a coaching staff and that type of stuff, and then a new guy comes in and he's got a plan now. New guy's got a plan. And new guys, this is how we're going to do it. And sometimes you kind of figure out, maybe I'm done with this. So, no disrespect for those kids. They, it's like IBM. When somebody takes over IBM or Google and they come in, people leave. And that's what happens in football programs.
Coach, you led up the press conference saying one of the first things you wanted to establish was find out who the leaders are of this football team. Just how long of a process is that, and what to you defines a leader?
Well, a leader's a guy that you can count on, that you can work, that's going to work every day. You kind of know what you're expecting every day from him when he comes to work. People follow him. He doesn't have to be perfect. He does not have to be perfect. He doesn't have to be a vocal guy. He needs to be a guy that's going to work every day and work to his craft. We talk about job descriptions. The guy knows his job description every day, and he goes to try to better himself in his job description. And he tries to bring 1 or 2 people with him every day to get better. So how long the process is going to take? I hope less than 15 practices.
Coach, what are your expectations? You're talking about you're setting the foundation. Expectations. What are your expectations?
My expectations is that we line up and we can get in stretch lines at about 4:05. That's my expectation.
You mentioned depth at quarterback. You have a handful of quarterbacks on your roster, I think like 5 or 6 even. Are some of those guys maybe not going to play quarterback, maybe switching to other positions?
If I had a crystal ball, I could tell you that, but I don't know that. My expectation is that those guys go out there and try to compete, and that we can get 3, 4, maybe 5 guys that can help us at quarterback.
Do you have in your mind, do you I only want 3 deep on the quarterback or 4 deep? It just kind of play it by ear.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up at the end of the spring. Really, I won't know who the starting quarterback is until probably the first week of the first game. That's when I'll decide who the starting quarterback will be.
Coach, can you tell us a little bit how you're going to set up this practice? Are you have segmented in a certain way? You have the spring practices, obviously, without the pads, you know,
Right.
different, but when you get the pads, are you gonna have certain things that you focus on certain parts?
Yeah, we will, when you're talking about practices, not actual the practice. Our first couple practices, we're just introducing basically our practice schedule, how we do things. That'll be in shorts. Obviously, you don't get to touch anybody, you don't get to hit anybody. So that'll be the first two practices. When we get into what we call Bobcat gear, when we get into helmets and shoulder pads and no pants, then we'll do a little bit more contact. There'll be a little bit more inside run, more team, more physical practices. And then when we do what we call it win or loser days. We have kind of neat deal. We go offense against defense, and we keep points. And we go wide receivers against DBs, linebackers against running backs, tight ends, and they're for physical, hard-nosed drills to try to find out the toughness of your football team and try to create some toughness on your football team. And we keep that. Along with that, we scrimmage. We have situations, first and second down scrimmage, third down scrimmage, red zone scrimmage. We'll do all those as we move through spring practice. So there'll be situational pieces to our practice. And then obviously in every practice, we'll spend a time installing the basis of our special teams. We'll do that throughout the spring. So yeah, it is pretty segmented, but it is a plan that we feel like if we accomplish that, stay healthy, knock on wood, by the end of the spring, we'll have a better idea where our football team is.
Coach, you said, talk about quarterbacks. Am I taking it to mean then that since Jones is the returning starter, he's not going in as number one? It's just, is it a level playing field right now, or what?
Yeah, that's at every position.
Yeah.
That's at every one of our. There's not a starter at any position on our football team right now. I couldn't tell you. If somebody asked me who our starter, who knows? Ask me in August. Ask me about August the 25th.
Coach, there's a lot of excitement, interest in your program for a lot of the fans here, and I know a lot of them are interested in what's going to happen with the spring game, April the 9th. What can we expect to see on that spring game? What do you want to get out of it?
Nobody get hurt. A good scrimmage, competitive scrimmage, a physical scrimmage, and then us come out of and just so you guys know, that'll be practice 12 for us. That won't be practice 15. That'll be practice 12. So what we're trying to do is basically just continue on the growth of our program through spring ball.
When did you kind of make that decision to not have the spring game be kind of the finish to camp? Was there kind of a decision behind that?
Yeah, really it was the start date, when we wanted to start. And obviously we look at the other schools when they're having spring games and try not to fit, one on top of another. That was a big piece of it. And then what we wanted to do was have the spring game and then have a couple days afterwards that we got specific on things we wanted to correct and get better at. And that's why, I've done it before at other places. We just felt like we, let the spring game be the spring game. Let everybody come on April the 9th and have fun and do the things they want to do. And then let's go back out and let's go get better at some things we need to get better at.
Coach, we haven't really asked you this, or maybe I haven't, maybe somebody else has. When you looked at the schedule this year, did you really look hard at the schedule before you took this job?
Schedules are schedules. I don't get caught up into, really who you play. I get caught up in us. I mean, I don't know if you heard the press conference I had. We look at us in the mirror. We don't really look at the other team very much. We feel like if we can get to where we're the best team we can be, then we're going to roll that team out there and go play. And that's kind of how we look at it. It's not much about, wow, we play this team this week. You know what? We play each other out there at about 4:05. And that's basically how I look at it.
You also said, Coach, when you came to campus, you were going to intermingle with the students, have lunch with them, ride your bike around campus. Have you been doing that?
Some, not as much as I'd like, to be honest with you.
Why not?
Trying to get ready for spring practice. Try to get ready. No, we're trying to set up something. Now, I can't talk about it right now. We're trying to set up something for the students here, tied into maybe our spring practice here in a couple weeks. If we can get it done, it'll be really nice for our student, our faculty, and our staff on campus. Try to get something done that way. I think I'm speaking to the Greek life in a day or so on campus. You know, I'm interested in all that stuff. I think all that stuff's good. I want to get our students on, come to our games. I don't want to get them sitting in the parking lot and drinking and all that and going home. I want to get them after they drink and do all that, come in the game. And I know as a head coach, that's my job to go say, hey, this is a reason why you need to come in the game. So I'm excited about that part of it.
Are you liking what you see from your players so far through the offseason since you've been here?
You know what? I've seen some growth. I've seen some growth in some kids. I've seen some attention, a little bit better attention to detail. When we first started, and again, we had guys late, and guys, the meeting starts at 6 a.m. and people walk in at 5:59. That's late to me. That's late. So, I'm interested in guys being 10, 15 minutes early and stuff. We're starting to see that toward the end of our all season. With guys, the attention to detail. Put your hand behind the line. I think one of the first times to learn how to put your hand behind the line. Not on the line, behind the line. Finish +2. That means when you run 10, you run 12. We started to see some of that as the offseason went through, and hopefully that just builds and carries on to your spring practice.
Do you look at film from any of the games from last year, or do you just kind
Sure.
of treat it as a
Sure. Yes, I did.
What was your impressions?
We need to be better. We were a 3-9 team last year. Usually when you look at 3-9 on film, it looks like 3-9. It was 3-9. We were a 3-9 team last year. And you hear me now, we.
Yeah.
We were a 3-9 team.